Hello, Governor. It's Rick Steed, New from the Ville, and we're here to talk about the movie Wicked. But first, let me tell you a little story. You know, the other day I was flipping through channels and just kind of on a humble, I saw a movie that I absolutely love. It's called The Five Heartbeats. And I don't know why this particular scene stuck out in my mind. So, Eddie Kane Jr., who is the lead singer of the group, is telling his parents about an upcoming showcase that they have, and he's really excited. He's ready, and he's telling his parents, "I'm about to do something special. You need to be there." And his father stands up and tells him, "Boy, you ain't gonna be shit, 'cause I wasn't shit." And you can see by the actor's face, who's played wonderfully by Michael Wright, it wounds him. And his mother does the best she can to comfort and console him. But a lot of times a young man really wants the approval, wants respect from their father if their father's around. I don't want to tell you the whole movie, but needless to say, there is a moment, and anyone who's seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. There's a moment in the movie where maybe in his father's eyes, but definitely in his mother's eyes, you can see where he defied expectations. Let's talk about it. Hello, Governor. This is Rick Steed, New from the Ville, and we're here to talk about the movie Wicked. Now, how I normally do things is I give a short intro and story, introduce myself, do a quick recap, do some quotes, do my personal thoughts, and then we're out. But I'm not going to do that this time. I'm not going to do a recap at all. I figure if you're here watching this, then you've seen Wicked. If not, why are you here? I know you want to hear my thoughts, but my thoughts are not so much on the movie itself, but a theme that I picked up from the movie. And I may recount some parts of the movie during that. You'll see. Anyway, here's something that you may not know. Wicked is a movie that came out in 2024. It's considered a musical fantasy film, and it is set before the events of the wonderful Wizard of Oz. So most are familiar with the Wizard of Oz. It was directed by John Chu, written by Winnie Holzman and Dana Fox, and it's an adaptation of the original stage musical, which came out in 2003 from Stephen Schwartz and Winnie Holzman. Now, they're loosely based on the set of novels. There's actually 4 novels, I think, in the series from Gregory Maguire, and those came out in 1995, or the first one came out in 1995. It's a reimagining of the world of The Wizard of Oz, set by L. Frank Baum in the original film that came out in 1939 featuring Judy Garland. Now, this movie's full of talent. You have Cynthia Erivo, who, if you don't know, she's already a Tony Award-winning singer, actress. Like, she's done a lot. A lot of people, this was their introduction to Cynthia Erivo. Not us, but a lot of people. Ariana Grande, maybe a pop princess, a Disney Nickelodeon actress, but she ended up playing the part of Glinda, who you may remember from the Wizard of Oz, Glinda the Good Witch. And Elphaba, Cynthia Erivo's part, ended up being what was referred to as the Wicked Witch. You had Jonathan Bailey, straight off of Bridgerton fame, Michelle Yeoh, Jeffrey Goldblum, Peter Dinklage. There were so many stars, and a really well done ensemble cast. I mean, they even made space for, I believe Steven Schwartz had a part in the movie, and I know that I saw Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, who I won't say originated the parts of Elphaba and Glinda on stage. The movie was first conceived in 2012, but it did not get made. They didn't even start on it until 2019. COVID delayed the movie. The SAG-AFTRA strikes delayed the movie. So the movie wasn't even finished until January 2024, 12 years later, and hit theaters November 2024. And at the time of this video, the budget for this movie was $150 million, and as of today, the movie has cleared $756 million worldwide. It's technically a part one. It's the first act of the stage play, and part two will be out November 2025, I believe. This film was nominated for 10 Oscars, including for Best Picture, but it won for Best Costume Design and Best Production Design. Now you know that I love my quotes, so I only have two today. The first one is from Confucius. And Confucius said, "The expectations of life depend upon diligence. The mechanic that would perfect his work must first sharpen his tools." The second quote is from Ralph Marston, and he says, "Don't lower your expectations to meet your performance. Raise your level of performance to meet your expectations. Expect the best of yourself, then do what is necessary to make it a reality." I'm going to call this Media Therapy Deep Dive, Defying Expectations. And yes, I know what you're saying. Yes, it is a play on words, because the biggest song, one of the biggest moments in this, is a song called Defying Gravity. So yes, I did hold on to that. Defying expectations means to surpass what was anticipated or expected. It implies something unexpected, surprising, or extreme, often in a positive way. You ever been around a person who's done something that you didn't expect, but it was so positive, it almost put a smile on your face? You ever seen an athlete where they had such low expectations and they end up surprising everyone? Now, these are mundane, everyday examples of defying expectations. Why did I choose defying expectations for this? Because defying expectations is all about embracing challenges and obstacles and overcoming them. Elphaba was discounted from the moment that she was born. We're not going to talk about what her mama was doing. As soon as the daddy, the governor of Munchkin Land, as soon as he was out the door, the mama was on some extra. And I really don't like that portrayal. But it is what it is. As soon as the daddy went out the front door, little buddy came in the back door. And she was out here drinking. You know what she was doing? She was out here getting that flat back on. Entertaining the gentlemen callers of the night. Yes. Anyway, when the governor was in childbirth, he saw that the mother was in labor. He was ready for his baby, and then Elphaba came out, and she's green? Oh, hell no. Now, the thing is, he was nasty. And it's hard to say how someone would react when they're in the room and your wife is giving birth, and you know beyond the shadow of a doubt from the moment that that child's born, that ain't none of your child. You know right away, Oz is not the pappy. But can we say that that had an effect on Elphaba from day one, minute one? He said some really derogatory things and she cried and her powers manifested. Her powers were completely emotionally based. Now, I would say that it probably scared everyone in the room. She had touched the arcane. She was doing something that nobody had seen. On top of the fact that this is a wild ass world off top. There's munchkin peoples. They got talking animals everywhere. There's some wild shit going on in this world. Just off rip. But he saw that green baby and said, oh, no, you done made that up. Now we see a couple other scenes of Elphaba. She's growing up, and the kids, why are kids so damn mean? There's always one little bully, one leader, and a bunch of little kids, that bunch of damn minions that just fall right into place. You don't have no identity but to back up somebody else's bullshit. I cannot stand it. Can't stand it. And I guess I was never one of those people, so. You know, I had my crew, my little clique in high school and, you know, even in college, but it wasn't like that. Like the people I ran around with, we could stand on one leg. We didn't need a crowd. There was no leader. I bowed down to no one. Best belief. Anyway, we saw some kids shouting names and being real ugly to Elphaba when she was spending time with her little sister, Nessa Rose, who's in a wheelchair. And again, emotionally, her powers manifested. She threw a bunch of rocks at them kids all at the same time. And then here come the governor, come around the corner, and he immediately jumps on her. He don't question, he don't ask what was the situation. He don't say nothing about those kids are wrong, nothing. He knew that they was saying names at her. Hell, he probably told them what names to say. He says the same names, if not worse. And you could see it in Elphaba's eyes and her body language that she managed to continue to keep her head up even though her soul was dying because, you know, I think the only person she really had in her corner was Nessa Rose, but she had to look out for Nessa Rose, and Nessa Rose was completely privileged, and she enjoyed the privilege and the heaping of praise and love that her father gave her, and she never spoke up on Elphaba's behalf. And then Elphaba, from the time she was born, she had a caretaker. I don't know if it was a nanny, I don't know. It was a talking elephant, so, or a talking bear. She was a bear. I mean, you damn near raised by wolves. You're raised by a bear. So, you know, lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my. I mean, you should be tough as hell. You raised by a bear. Beat your ass and, you know, just grab fish out the lake. I don't know, but she's raised by a bear. And the bear was sweet and nurturing and took care of Elphaba. You know, I guess it's good that a girl who's that maligned is being raised by a bear, because that bear ain't about no play. This is a big old bear. Anyway, we see once again Elphaba's dropping Nessa Rose off at Shiz University. And we get to see the combination. It's like day one, you see the cliques forming and all this. And when Glinda shows up with her fake ass, Glinda is about as real as a $3 bill. And but the way Ariana Grande played her was sublime. Like, she killed that role. And it it made me couldn't stand her ass, but I laughed every time she was on screen. Elphaba was only there to drop off Nessa Rose. But once again, someone said something, they were doing something to Nessa Rose that she didn't want. Elphaba's emotions took over and her power happened. And Miss Madame Morrible, who's played by Michelle Yeoh, who, as far as I'm concerned, Michelle Yeoh does no wrong. She came down and took credit for Elphaba's power, but she was intrigued. Elphaba was the one that she was looking for, the one who had these natural gifts, this magic inside of her. So she chose her to train her. And she said, well, I'm not even registered. I was just here to drop her off. My father's a governor. He'll never go for this shit. Let me worry about him. From day one, there was zero expectations. As a matter of fact, they expected the worst out of Elphaba. And no matter what happened, every time something bad happened wrong, they blamed it on her. She was the scapegoat for everything since the beginning of the movie. This continued through most of the time that she was at Shiz. She was looked down upon. She was thought negatively of by the other students. They did not treat her well. They did not receive her well. And you would think people being at a university expand their thinking, but they brought a lot of the same racist, bias, classist, bullshit attitude with them. And sometimes that's the saddest thing about people. You think that certain things, education, money, things like that would improve people's attitude, but no, all it does is shine a bigger light on the person that they already are. If you're an asshole before you had money, money's just gonna make you the ultimate asshole. You know, if you were a scumbag before you got education, then education is just gonna make you the worst of the bags of douche that are out there. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Now, there's a lot of themes, tropes that you can place behind this woman who happens to be green in the movie, but let's just stick with what we see on screen. Elphaba is treated awfully because she's different. Pure and simple. And that can really mean anything. As a people, culturally, nationally, we have a hard time with things, people that are different than we are. We revert, we're very quick to retreat to our cliques and our tribes. And we shun those things which are different. We're not inclusive at all. And it's kind of sad. Because at this point, I understand when you act like that when someone has personally done something to you, but she hadn't done anything to anyone. They did that when they saw her on sight, and that's sad as hell. Now, she spent a lot of time with Madame Morrible, but she was having a hard time understanding the way that things worked at Shiz University. She was definitely not a go-with-the-flow type of woman. There became a subplot in the movie about the removal of the animal professors, the talking animals. There were a few other things going on. There was a subplot about this dude, a prince that showed up named Fiyero. That's a whole different thing. But Elphaba, either because of how she'd been treated all her life or just this was who she had grown up to be, she cared about other things and people, even when they went out of their way to do her dirty. One of the ones who was the worst to her was Glinda. But there came a particular point in the movie where even though Glinda had done something completely awful to her, Elphaba held it together and held her head high at the height of ridicule. And it made Glinda feel bad. She felt awful for what she had done. And she went to share in that pain with Elphaba to let her know that she was alone. And Glinda was so popular that her spending time with Elphaba, doing what Elphaba was doing, made the thing that was ridiculous only mere seconds ago, now it was acceptable, and now it's popular and everyone is doing it. And the tone in the movie towards Elphaba changed at that point, because her and Glinda became confidants. Glinda was always self-serving. Always self-serving. She wanted something. She wanted to be where Elphaba was. She wanted to be Elphaba. What better way to get in than by to befriend her? But over the course of that, they actually did become friends. So I'm not saying that Glinda was always a snake in the grass and that she was looking to snake her. Some of those things just happened organically. She actually did become a friend with her and was concerned with her. Now, Elphaba's, well-being was always number 2 to Glinda, but she was genuinely her friend up until we had the climax of the movie. And we have the great moment where Elphaba has a startling realization about the people around her, about the place where she is, and about all the events that have been going on in the wonderful, wonderful world of Oz. And we get the wonderful, magnificent rendition of Defying Gravity from Cynthia Erivo. It's like one of those ones you be like, damn, is it? The pollen count in here is high. Who is cutting onions? It's just, my eyes are sweating. Like, she is singing. And at this point, Madame Morrible kept telling the wizard, I told you she was the one. She's the one we've been looking for. She had surpassed all expectations. But the problem is, Elphaba being who she was, she came with unexpected outcomes that they could not control. They tried. They wanted to. They even used Glinda to be like, come on, talk some sense into your friend. Like, she brought you here as a +1. Like, you better get her in line. But when they figured out that they couldn't control her, then they did what people do and they turned on her. They fabricated stories and used propaganda and turned her into the villain in mere moments. I once heard Ryan Reynolds, famous actor, most famous now for owning the football, soccer to us Americans, but football team Wrexham AFC, and being Deadpool in the Marvel Universe. He's done a lot. He's been around for a while, but those are things he's most famous for. He's a very savvy businessman. And I heard him once say, when you have expectations, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And I don't know if that is 100% true. And it's really not about being disappointed in the moment. It's about how do you recover from being disappointed? Because at some point it's inevitable that everyone will be disappointed. You will be betrayed. You will have your heart broken. You're going to suffer and probably go through many of the worst parts, attitudes that humanity has to offer. how do you bounce back? How do you defy expectations? Because you had them. That's how you found yourself. You set yourself up for disappointment, right? Okay, so now you've been disappointed. How do you defy those expectations now? Remember, if the mechanic is going to perfect his work, he's got to sharpen his tools. This is Rakai Steed, Noob from the Ville. Make sure that you share this as much as possible. Leave me a like. Go on, hit the button. Leave me a like. Leave me some comments about what did you think about this. It's a different way that I've done a deep dive. And I try to incorporate a little bit about what was going on in the story in the deep dive. So leave me some comments about that. I really want to hear about times that you defied expectations. And if for some reason you have not subscribed yet, hit the button, subscribe, watch other videos, maybe something to resonate with you. Remember, everything we watch, we use this, but it's even more important to use this.